This is Brandy Shea with Quality Thrives, and I've got Stephen Rykwalder here. Stephen and I met it was like 6 months ago, and he was currently doing a podcast at that time called 5 Months to Freedom, and him and I and two other guys were talking about doing a podcast as well. Didn't work out, but the main reason that I wanted to talk to him was because he's gone through the experience of quitting his 9 to 5 and seeing what that actually does to your life. So I think that there is a lot of talk out there about why you should quit your 9 to 5 and a lot of encouragement to quit your 9 to 5, but no one ever talks about like what happens if you quit your 9 to 5 and you're not fully prepared. So I thought this would be kind of interesting to share with everyone. So Stephen, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself.
All right, perfect. Thanks, Brandy. Yeah, I am Stephen Rykwalder. I had a podcast called 5 Months to Freedom a few months back and ended up actually doing that for about 6 months. I was in the corporate world for a while, got an accounting degree, my CPA, and I ended up just hating the corporate world. So I planned within about a 1.5 month time frame to leave the corporate world and just go out on my own.
When you quit your 9 to 5 job, quote unquote, was it a sporadic thing? Did you plan for it?
It was kind of sporadic. I had gone to a convention that was all about respecting your time and respecting money and things like that.
What was that convention called?
What was it called? It was called Millionaire Mind. So, yeah, the Millionaire Mind Intensive. So it was pretty exciting, but the thing that I realized was where I was working 80 to 90 hours a week, and they were only paying me a salary for 40 hours. So I realized really quickly, number one, I wasn't respecting money, and I wasn't respecting time. So I wanted to do something that I had a little bit more control, and I always had an entrepreneurial spirit. I was always building businesses, but I really wanted to just try to dive all in and just only focus on that.
Right. Okay, so you actually did launch your podcast, 5 Months to Freedom, and it was pretty successful. You got a lot of episodes and you got a lot of downloads. What was your whole plan with that, with the whole 5 Months to Freedom concept? What did you want to have by that 5 months?
By the end of the 5 months, my real goal was just to sustain my freedom from the corporate world. So 5 Months to Freedom basically was labeled that because when I left the corporate world, I only had 5 months worth of money to cover my expenses. So basically at the end of that 5 months, I knew that I would run out of my money. And I thought, you know what, that'll kind of push me to just really do everything I can to survive on my own and not have to go back to what I saw as kind of a prison sentence in the corporate world. So freedom would have been the ultimate goal, freedom from the corporate world.
Okay, so realistically, that didn't happen, right?
No, it did not end up happening. I do have to say, though, I ended up being really lucky because I found another job in the corporate world that ended up being a lot better than the one I was at, which the director of my department actually really supports my businesses and really encourages me to focus on my own businesses. So I'm only working about 40 hours a week now, and I have the money to help fund my businesses so I can really do good quality stuff rather than just trying to force stuff out the door just to make money.
Right. So, and then during that 5 months, you and I did talk a lot, and I was helping you with your website, and you were working on a couple of different business plans. And I know that are you still pursuing both of them?
Yeah, I am. The Bicep website that was my original intent when I did 5 Months to Freedom was just basically, that was going to be my goal of making money. And now that website is actually, within the last month or two, has just started picking up traffic like crazy. So even just within the last 30 days, we've jumped from 5,000 unique visitors to about 10,000 per month. So
amazing.
Yeah, I mean, we just launched that site only, back when I started the 5 month campaign, which was in mid-July of last year, 2013. So without hiring anybody else to do any search engine optimization or any marketing, really, I mean, we've maybe spent a total of $300 on Google Ads and Facebook. And to be able to be on the front page of Google search results and have that much traffic is pretty phenomenal. So we're excited about that.
Absolutely. And then you got, what's the other one you got going on?
So the other one is the one that you helped me with the branding and all the design for, which is Choose My Personal Trainer. And that's going to be a website that's going to help connect trainers with more clients. And we actually just scrapped the whole website and we're starting from scratch, only keeping the design and branding work that you did. So we had built it out on a platform that right about a week before we were going to launch it, we just realized there were certain things that me and my brother who was working with me on it, we weren't really comfortable with. It looked like there were some holes in the code that would not really align with what we needed. So we're going to rebuild it completely on a whole new software platform. So
Wow.
yeah,
I mean, that's how it goes, right? Like that's kind of why I wanted to talk to you. You've been through, like, you have done all the things that we're constantly told to do. You know, quit
right.
your 9 to 5, launch a podcast, and start a
Yeah,
business. And like, it's interesting to see. I don't know anyone who's actually done all of those things consecutively, and it's interesting to see the realistic side of it, like what actually happens when you do that, because I feel like that's really not part of the discussion, you
right.
know?
Oh, definitely. I agree. And that was one of the biggest things that when I started my journey on the 5 months was I started being surrounded by a lot of people that were really successful, quote unquote, in the entrepreneurial world. And, a lot of them, they look like overnight successes or, the way they market these things to other entrepreneurs is basically that if you do this or you do that, you can take your business to the next level. And the truth of the matter is it just takes a lot of hard work and dedication to the business, and nothing happens overnight. So with our Bicep website, there were a lot of times where I would get down because you hear all these success stories and you think, man, I guess mine just isn't working out. But realistically, I'd say about a year after launching, it's going to be really successful, and we're actually going to try to sell it to a bigger company for hopefully up to $100,000 for that website. So the thing is, I mean, obviously that'll still be in the works. But I think the thing that you hear from everybody else is it just sounds like it's so easy, even if they say, it takes a lot of hard work. They're not talking to you about it when they're in the middle of doing it. So all you think about is their success. So, with 5 months to freedom, I wanted to give people an inside look at my daily struggles and just, the heartbreak that they would be able to see on a daily basis as I was going through those struggles. So,
Now that you've kind of taken a step back outside of the entrepreneur bubble of rainbows and butterflies, and you're going to be successful and everything, what have you what's been different in your life, like with your work ethic, with your focus? Has anything been significantly different?
yeah, dramatically. And it's something that you and me had talked about a while back when we were both kind of just frustrated with where we were at and the things that we were seeing in the entrepreneurial world. Because when I jumped into the entrepreneurial world, especially with the podcast, I started getting people reaching out to me all over the world. And I still do. I mean, a lot of people still continue to email me to this day. And one of the biggest things I tell them is just focus on doing what you really believe in. Don't get caught up in these little side schemes that people pitch to you, and like the niche site building thing. That when I was doing 5 months of freedom, towards the end I started getting so desperate to make money because I really wanted to keep that freedom, and I started building niche sites and doing all this stuff that everybody tells you to do. And our niche sites, I built them with a couple other people, and we were getting to the first page of Google for all the niche sites. But there was really no quality that we were offering the world. We were just putting out more content that was just flooding the internet with garbage. And now what I've realized is I really need to just focus on things that I'm extremely passionate about. Because number one, when you hit those snags in the business, like having to rebuild from scratch, you want to keep doing it because it's something that you really believe in. And you think you're actually adding value to the world. But number two, you don't feel at the end of the night like, I'm just doing this just to make money. You really do truly feel like I'm making a positive difference in the world. I'm releasing a product that people are actually going to benefit from, and they'll look at it and say, you know what, this really helps me out. So I think that's been the big difference since I started.
That's an amazing point. That, I mean, that the value within yourself is the
Right.
value of pursuing something that you're passionate about. That's totally true.
Yeah.
So this is kind of just a personal question, actually, and something that I've been curious about. I follow you on Facebook, and you post a lot of things about animal rights, which I think is really like awesome and kind of funny because you're doing all this fitness stuff, and then you're like an animal rights activist, and that's
Yeah.
two ends of the spectrum, and it's amazing. Are you ever planning to do anything with that passion?
Yeah, the thing is, my end goal now at this point, originally when I started my journey, that's another thing, is I was really into fitness. I always have been extremely into fitness, and I thought fitness is going to be my end game. But now with the success that I'm starting to see with my fitness stuff, and hopefully that'll continue and get better, um, what I really want to do is start filtering that money once it starts coming in towards something that'll help animals. And something that I'm thinking about doing is a little bit of a spin-off of a company called Arm the Animals, which I'm a huge fan of, and it's a company that sells clothing, and the proceeds go to no-kill animal shelters. So I always buy clothes from there if I'm gonna buy clothes. And what I want to do, because I'm extremely against trophy hunting and all this canned hunting that's become extremely popular, and I'm a huge advocate for different wolf groups and no-kill groups and anti-fur movements and things like that. So I want to ultimately create some kind of brand that will help fund the whole no-kill movement and anti-hunting, and just the whole concept of hunting is okay if you're just doing it for fun, which I just think is disgusting and despicable. So it is kind of funny because I'm not your typical animal rights advocate. A lot of these people, when they find me, they're just like, wow, this is so weird. It's a young guy that's, huge in the gym and all that stuff. And so I'm not your typical person. And I think that's what helps so much is that I'm able to reach a lot of people that maybe they typically wouldn't be able to reach. So
That's
yeah.
an amazing point. I didn't even think about that. That's a really great point. That because you're not the typical stereotype animal lover, which
Right.
tends to be very earthy and
Right. Kind of
all of that.
hippie-ish. Right. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So that's
Yeah.
that's that's great. That's such a good point.
Yeah.
So what is one last thing? Last question, I promise. The Out of everything that you've learned over the past year since you quit your job, had to get another job, launched all these two businesses, what's the number one piece of advice that you would give to entrepreneurs from your experiences?
Man, can I wrap a couple of things into it?
Sure, sure. Yeah, we can do like a
Alright.
multi-question or multi-answer.
Alright. Yeah, so I would say the biggest thing that I would tell anybody that's going to go into entrepreneurship is be prepared for the journey. Don't just jump into it and leave your job thinking, oh, if my back's against the wall, it'll make me successful. Because you might start compromising who you really are and what you really hope to accomplish. And as kind of a part of it, but as a part of that, make sure you focus on quality and adding quality to the world and not just putting garbage content out just for the sake of making money. So when your back is against the wall, it's hard to really focus on the quality of things and really improving the world because all you're thinking about is I need a paycheck. And to that point, the Bicep website, which I'm actually about to relaunch tomorrow, this is the third time that I've rebuilt that website, trying to just get the quality better and better, and just trying to upgrade to that next platform. And so I think that's the biggest piece of advice that I could give people.
Amazing, and that is so real. Relaunching three times
Yeah,
like
I
that is.
know.
I launched my website 2 months ago, and
Yeah,
I spent an entire weekend a couple weeks ago redoing the entire thing.
it's
That's just
not
what you have
fun.
to do. It's like trial
Yeah,
and error.
it is. And that's the thing is if you can find a way to make it more user friendly, better design, things like that, it's huge. And it takes a lot of time because our Bicep website has about 70 pages. So to rebuild that on a whole new platform every time is very time consuming and stressful because what I'll have to do is redirect the site. I have two domains that are similar. I have a .net and a .co. And originally when I built it on the .co extension just because I wanted to prove that I could get a .co ranked really well on Google. So for anybody out there that's watching this or listening, you can get a .co ranked just as well as a .com because I did it. And so yeah, so when I rebuild my website, I just direct everything. I reload all the content onto my .NET and do a temporary redirect to the .NET while I rebuild it on the back end on the .co. So what I try to do though is get that done within a week so that the search engines don't start to pick up on the wrong site, and I can keep all my traffic and everything flowing.
Oh,
So yeah.
that's crazy. 70 pages. I have like
Yeah.
6 pages, and that was hard for me.
Yeah, yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot of work and a lot of long hours just sitting there recoding things and organizing it the new way and everything like that. So it's fun.
Absolutely. Well, you are awesome.
Thanks.
Cyber high five. Can we do one?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for chatting with me. I'm going to stop this broadcast. Hope you guys enjoyed this. This was the first ever web interview for Quality Thrives.